Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of the trailer for Superman, James Gunn's 2025 launch of his new DC studios. There is so much to unpack from this trailer, from blink and you'll miss it details and Easter eggs to its lofty promises to fix, well, everything. I'm going to break it down frame by frame for literally everything you missed. Like, I cannot believe some of the stuff that is hidden in between shots of this trailer. Also, bit of an announcement here. New Rockstars now has a channel membership where for a small amount every month, you can support our channel directly to get some fun perks with some even cooler benefits that we will be announcing in the coming weeks. Just hit that join button, please and thank you. All right, let's get started. The trailer opens on a windswept, icy tundra. Superman, Kal-El, played in this film by David Cornsweet, crash lands in the ice, laying in what you might call a crater similar to the one his pod might have crash landed in the farmlands outside of Smallville, Kansas when he was a baby. But really here he's kind of making Yamcha's death pose meme from Dragon Ball Z. Superman has been roughed up in a fight. He's wheezing in a way that we are not accustomed to hearing Superman wheeze. He's bruised, he's coughing up blood. So who did this to him? Well, the trailer later suggests a possible answer. This film was written and directed by James Gunn, who directed the Guardians of the Galaxy films for Marvel Studios, but he also directed the 2021 film The Suicide Squad for DC, along with the spin-off series Peacemaker, and ended up taking the job as head of DC Studios in October 2022, along with his producing partner Peter Safran. Superman, formerly titled Superman Legacy, is Gunn's first film in this phase that he's calling his Gods and Monsters phase, and this is a critical proof of concept for this franchise. And even this trailer needed to be perfect, and really it's a collection of a series of amazing choices and attention to detail and just how this trailer was edited and what he put into it, and that's why it's such a feast to even break down. And various press events this week, James Gunn has explained what he hopes to do with this film includes evoking the spirit of the character captured by Christopher Reeve and Richard Donner in the 1978 film, which is the most important superhero film ever made. B, embracing all of the aspects of the Superman character from the comics and not leaving anything out of fear of being like not cool enough or to indulgently fit his spin on the character. And C, humanize the character as much as possible. Here, notice how the colors of Superman's suit pop. The red trunks are back after they were done away with for the 2011 New 52 redesign of the character, and of course not included in Zack Snyder's DC films design of the suit. On Superman's cape is the yellow emblem, which reminds us of the Christopher Reeve design and appeared on Superman's cape in the 2005 Superman run that James Gunn and David Cornsweet cited as a big comic inspiration for this story, not necessarily its plot, but rather its vibe and tone. That Superman storyline features Superman having to face dying after Lex Luthor had tricked him into being overexposed by the sun, that then led Superman to going on a kind of bucket list of heroic feats inspired by the 12 labors of Hercules to make peace with the world. Here, I think James Gunn just wants to show a Superman who looks mortal, a Superman who bleeds. The chest emblem has a yellow border, which evokes the amazing 1940 Max Fleischer Superman shorts, and we also saw a yellow border around the Superman suit in Earth 1. The S is formed by one thick diagonal line, a shape that comes from 1996's Kingdom Come art by Alex Ross. But the color grading of this footage isn't just to get ahead of the snarky film bros online. James Gunn said that when they were testing out the costume, Cornsweet insisted that Superman deliberately wear bright colors because he knows he's a goofy, powerful alien and he doesn't want kids to be afraid of him. Now, the chest emblem covered in ice and snow was the very first image James Gunn shared of this version of Superman on February 29th of this past year. That is Superman's birthday. And since Gunn led with that image and opens this trailer this way, suggests to me that this might even be the opening shot of the movie. Like, we might begin the movie in the action and then flash back to how Superman got to that point. Either way, it's going to be a moment that James Gunn considers to be like the most thematically resonant to what he's trying to do with this film. All right, let's move on. right, now we see Clark Kent awkwardly zigzagging down a crowded sidewalk. But the wheezing of Superman in the ice continues to play over this, as if to say this struggle just to breathe Earth's air, this suffocation, this agoraphobia, is something Kal-El also feels when he's in disguise as Clark. Now, we did see some overhead set video of this when they were shooting this in Cleveland last summer, and you could see from that angle that Clark awkwardly goes against the foot traffic on the wrong side of the sidewalk. Really, this is all a performative act by Kal-El, who likely dials up this clumsiness as he gets closer to the Daily Planet Planet office in case Lois or anyone else he knows is looking out a window or arriving at the same time as him. In my opinion, not since Christopher Reeve has a Superman actor so emphasized the bumbling physicality of the Clark Kent persona. It might just be that both Reeve and Cornsweet had training in physical comedy from Juilliard. It's not just the glasses, it's the whole vibe, the messy hair, the ill-fitting suit, the walk, the posture, the lack of eye contact, the higher-pitched voice, the constantly bumping into things, which, think about it, requires great care by Kal-El because he has to actively think about not laying anyone out when he collides with them and just always having to be super aware of his surroundings. And I appreciate the choice in this movie to give Clark messy but curly hair when it's in this moppy form, as it justifies why a single curl would be left on his forehead when he's Superman. In Clark's hand is a folded Daily Planet newspaper. Hammer something creates HA something. I was thinking maybe Hawk Girl, and then Hammer could be a reference to the KGB linked organization from the comics, but actually we get a closer look at this front page when it's read by the cop in front of the building. Hammer of Baravia creates havoc downtown. So the Hammer of Baravia is likely a terrorist group from that fictional DC country of Baravia, which we will be seeing in another context later in this trailer. And the front page photo, I'm pretty sure, shows a gorilla, which I'm assuming to be Gorilla Grodd, one of the best known antagonists to the Flash. Now, why Gorilla Grodd would be the downtown havoc related to the Baravian terrorist cell, I have no idea, but I cannot wait to see what Grodd did to scare all those poor people. This also means that there must be a Barry Allen Flash somewhere in the background of this universe. Of course there is. I think everyone's there. We're just not going to see all of them in this movie, and that's for the best. Also, I may be wrong, but at some point when he lifts his bag up, I think Clark might have two identical ID badges hanging from his bag, maybe because he's always losing one, or wanting all of his coworkers to think he's the kind of coworker who loses an ID badge all the time. Now, we see how the Daily Planet here is located beside the Wooded Duck cocktail bar, with the Daily Planet's address being 44 Concord Street, listed above a sign for freshly handmade cupcakes, red velvet, coconut, and lemon. And of course, the large Daily Planet globe lantern is hanging above. I assume this globe is also on top of the building, and we know that to get this entrance, they use part of a casino in downtown Cleveland. Now, back in the snow, Superman spits up blood, and his bright blue eyes look up toward the horizon. Okay, the glowing blue 3D block text with a little glimmer appears over a star-covered outer space backdrop, recalling the 1978 Superman the movie poster. This movie had the incredible tagline of "You will believe a man can fly." Now, this movie has a tagline of "Look up," which I also think is really good. The music in this trailer was composed by James Gunn's longtime composer partner John Murphy, who uses leitmotifs of John Williams' iconic score from the 1978 film. This is Williams' main Superman anthem, played with an echoey electric guitar. Now, normally John Williams' anthem is in C major, but Murphy puts it in D major here. For what it's worth, Defying Gravity from Wicked is in D flat major, and there is a lot of music theory I could get into here, but I think John Murphy put this in D major because it is the same key as Harold Faltermeyer's similar electric guitar solo Top Gun anthem. The Top Gun vibes are everywhere here because James Gunn isn't trying to make this movie as a hit for people who know and love Superman. He wants everyone to show up for this movie. He wants this movie to make $1 billion and to be the pseudo-patriotic summer box office phenomenon that Top Gun Maverick was in 2022. That really is, I think, his secret agenda with this. Like that film, 2025 Superman is an attempt to reinvigorate a franchise that a lot of viewers might not realize we desperately need at this moment, just like we didn't know that we needed Tom Cruise pilot action that badly. And it's a story unflinchingly American at a time when America is so divided. And hopefully a movie so good it will make you forget that cynicism and just look up in awe. James Gunn even admitted that they shot the flying action in this movie with drones and aimed to make it look like the aerial cinematography of Top Gun Maverick. So there you go. In the Daily Planet newsroom, we get a wide shot of how Clark is adjusting his walk to look sheepish and crouched over and unassuming as he's taking a phone call and avoiding eye contact. He's walking behind Cat Grant, the Daily Planet's gossip columnist played by Michaela Hoover. He passes Steve Lombard, another Daily Planet columnist played by SNL's Beck Bennett in this movie. He raises his arms as if he's saying, "Hey, watch where you're going, Kent." And the character of Steve Lombard was based partly on Ted Baxter from Mary Tyler Moore Show, and his physical appearance based on Joe Namath, which Beck Bennett evokes here with that thick mustache. This newsroom has another Daily Planet globe in the background, and TV monitors show GBS streams, Galaxy Broadcasting System, the DC in-universe news service that we've been seeing in Creature Commandos. On one of these monitors, this blonde woman is Eve Teskmacher, Lex Luthor's assistant and right-hand lady, played by Sarah Sampaio in this movie, probably defending Lex's action on cable news and doing that thing where they just talk really loud and talk over the interviewer, and the guy I represent never does anything wrong ever, and you're the wrong one. And then actually on the monitor on the far right, that might be Wendell Pierce as Daily Planet editor-in-chief Perry White. I think Perry might actually be in this newsroom as well, in the brown suit in the far background on the left with his back turned to us. We also know that actor Christopher McDonald will be playing another Daily Planet columnist, Ron Troop. Rachel Brosnahan plays Lois Lane in this film. She's got the same copy of that newspaper with a Daily Planet mug. The TV screen behind her has a GBS Chiron reading "Towns flooded following extreme weather." We also can spot Jimmy Olsen, played by Skylar Gisondo in this film. In the foreground, Clark ducks his face away from Lois as he goes to his desk. Now, based on the clock in the background, it looks like it's around 10:50 a.m., which is pretty late in the morning for a newspaper office for a reporter clocking in. But, he's probably late from saving someone, and he's just avoiding eye contact, and Lois is onto him. Now, behind Clark, as he turns the back to look at Lois, the walls of the newsroom have wall art on the left depicting, it looks like a linotype printing press on the right, showing an old-timey living room radio like we saw in the Christmas Story, and then the dawn of American television. So it seems like the Daily Planet has this art to show the evolution of the way the public gets their news. I'm sure if you round the corner, you'll find a mural depicting Twitter, and then beyond that, a wall that's just on fire. Clark turns around and briefly makes eye contact with Lois, but he tries to play it cool as he's really just looking past her suddenly to make it look like, oh, I was just looking up out the window. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. December has got everybody thinking of gifts. The best gifts are the gifts that keep on giving, the things that improve therapy. Okay, short clip here just to really focus on this moment at the Kent farm. I love this. Pruitt Taylor Vince plays Jonathan Kent, and in this movie, Neva Howell plays Martha Kent, but we do not see Martha here, but Jonathan is sobbing, which makes me think that in this continuity, it could be that Ma Kent is the one who dies instead. Pruitt Taylor Vince is also just a pretty inspired choice for Pa Kent, because nothing against like Kevin Costner and his whole Field of Dreams Midwestern corn farmer vibe, but Pruitt Taylor Vince, I think, is someone you could actually imagine as a true Kansas farmer in 2024. Like, this house is not the classic movie farm with a big barn right next to it. That's not how farms look nowadays. This is how they look. All right, let's get to crypto.
Crypto. Home. Take me home.
Okay, so a wounded Superman whistles, and whistling would be hard to do if he's coughing up blood from what's probably a punctured lung, and then Crypto comes bounding in. So Crypto, aka the Super Dog, first appeared as a companion to Superboy in Adventure Comics number 210 in March 1955. The planet Krypton has a parallel evolution, resulting in things like dogs and cats and birds and simians evolving in their own way on that planet, parallel to ours. And Crypto was a canine companion to toddler Kal-El on his home planet of Krypton. Jor-El sent Crypto out as a test pilot in a prototype rocket before sending out Kal-El. And James Gunn must be very interested in this. The whole idea of poor Laika, the space dog that the Soviets sent out to space. That's basically what inspired Cosmo, the space dog, that James Gunn put in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Now, in Crypto's case, his rocket was knocked off course for years until eventually landing on Earth to be reunited with a teenage Superboy. And Crypto was just considered part of the broader Superman family until the 80s when DC and John Byrne kind of erased Crypto out of the picture out of an effort to make Superman more grounded. But this dog was always a beloved figure, part of the mythology, and actually came back in recent comics, and thank goodness, he's wonderful. Crypto has advanced smell and hearing, so when Superman whistles, Crypto can hear him from any place on Earth. Crypto also has like human level intelligence with his thoughts, often represented via speech balloons. James Gunn said that he based Crypto on his rescue dog Ozu, who he said destroyed his home and his shoes, his furniture, and ate his laptop, but he still considers him a good boy. Over the years, Crypto has been drawn as a white dog of generic pedigree. For the dog we see in this film, it looks as though Gunn might have used a similar process as what he and his team of artists used for Rocket Raccoon, like probably probably had a real animal reference, and they might have had on set for some takes, but really for these close-ups, they probably just had a stand-in of some kind, maybe mixed with James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, who will also appear in this movie as Maxwell Lord. And then on top of whatever that reference was, they have this impressive VFX render. And I think we gotta point this out, that Crypto's VFX here looks incredible. Like, the Frame Store team accomplished some incredible feats with the CGI fur and the way it interacted with their little cute noses and whiskers in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but they've gotten even better for it here. Crypto wears a yellow collar with a Superman shield emblem medallion. The yellow collar reflects Superman's yellow belt, and this collar holds up Crypto's red cape, which, yes, does somehow stay perfectly draped on Crypto's back, and more than any cape or any article of clothing would ever stay on a real dog. But think about this. A, Crypto was running very fast through icy snow, and that icy air probably froze that cape stiff in this position. And B, Kryptonian fabric probably just defies gravity in unusual ways on Earth. And C, this is a movie, and it just looks fun. Also, Crypto Take Me Home is really like the one spoken sentence of this trailer. And there is a meta layer of meaning to this. Crypto is a Superman character that we have not seen enough, because past filmmakers might have thought that he's too goofy or too silly to be in the super family in a movie. And it's just not true. Crypto is the hero we didn't know that we needed, and he's gonna be what delivers this cathartic homecoming for the character. So here, Superman saves this girl from these exploding canisters that are being stomped on by a giant kaiju. This is probably the same axolotl looking one who breathes fire a bit later. The perfect timing of Superman's catch is awesome. By arriving that fast, he blows away the little pieces of debris that were about to hit that girl's legs, and he smartly tucks her head down. Many have compared this to the amazing frame from Action Comics number 1000 in 2018 by Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, when Superman saves an unsuspecting kid on train tracks by stopping a train mere feet away from him, saying, "I liked it, the pure simplicity of it all. Men and women and children in need of saving by someone who had to be more powerful than a locomotive at the right moment. But I had to keep reminding myself that it was an illusion, a heroic trap made to appeal to the core of my soul." Actually, speaking of stopping trains, locals around the Cleveland area found a set-piece Daily Planet newspaper dispenser with a front page reporting Superman stopping a runaway train. Headline, Superman stops MTA rail from running off the tracks. The photo credit, if you look closely, is Jimmy Olsen, and the article is written by Clark Kent himself. The article actually reads, Metropolis hero Superman blazed to the front of the runaway train. In an impressive display of superhuman strength and bravery, Superman slowed the train to a halt. And this girl wears a plaid jumper and high knee socks that just reflects some of the costume design that we see on other Metropolis residents in this movie. Yes, they do have smartphones, so it's like the modern era, but they also reflect like a late 50s, early 60s wardrobe style that just feels like a throwback to the Silver Age. This rescue happens outside the Metropolis Meteors baseball park, which they shot at the Guardians Progressive Field. The Metropolis Meteors have, in the comics, been the name of the city's baseball team, but also the name of the football team at some point. Like Steve Lombard played football on the Meteors, the other team. And of course, the name Meteor reference to the mysterious meteor that crashed outside the nearby farm town of Smallville. Outside the park here, there is a street sign, Ross Avenue, and various photos of the Cleveland area over the summer. Fans did spot that the production named all the streets after DC Comics writers and artists. And Alex Ross might be one of the most important. He was the artist behind Kingdom Come, whose version of Superman inspired the design of the emblem in this film. We get our first shot of Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor in this film, watching Superman or some other flying hero zip past the building. It looks like Metropolis has a space needle, and we get a shot of Luthor Corp towers with the bridge extending across, making me think we might be getting like the twin skyscrapers that are in the double L shape that we've seen in the comics. Note that it's not Lex Corp yet, but rather Luthor Corp, which may remind you of the earlier seasons of Smallville when it was still the company of Lex's father. This suggests a somewhat younger Lex who might not yet fully be trusted by the shareholders of the company to make the company just a pure reflection of his egomania. Actually, if you look closely at this Luthor Corp building bridge, the engineer moves across the roof. This is Maria Gabriela De Faria playing the engineer, who's a member of the Authority. She has a nanotech suit built around her body, and I think she might be a metahuman who is working for Lex. We see this menacing shot of Lex with a revolver. I'm assuming it has a kryptonite bullet, but we'll see. He also has this pinky ring that might contain some traces of kryptonite, because Lex Luthor is known for having a kryptonite ring. The wall behind him, though, is, I think, the important detail of this shot. It is a grid of these cubic containers, and it's just an interesting location. I think one of these is what Superman is punching his way out of in the next shot. In the cell to the right of Superman, that is Metamorpho, Rex Mason, Anthony Carrigan's character, one of the other lower tier superheroes who will appear in this movie. And you can see how one quadrant of his body is the purple glowing flesh, and he's wearing like gym shorts, which I love. Metamorpho Metamorpho appears later in the trailer. We'll talk more about him, but the fact that he is in the cell to the right of Superman tells us something, but not only that, he's emitting a kind of light that appears to be distressing a woman who's wearing high socks, and then actually, yeah, that is a duplicate Metamorpho in the cell to Superman's left, emitting some light on some other guy in that cell wearing some kind of baggy pants. I thought it might have been Guy Gardner, but I don't think Guy Gardner wears those kind of pants, and the hair looks different. So whoever imprisoned Superman and these other people in these cells seems to have used duplicates of Metamorpho to do it. In past videos, I've talked about how Brainiac is probably going to factor into this movie somehow and might be the character Alan Tudyk is voicing, because James Gunn has said in the past that another comic storyline that inspired this movie was the 5-issue Brainiac storyline by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, Action Comics 866 to 870. In this storyline, Superman and Supergirl realized that every version of Brainiac that Superman has fought in the past was one of his probes, and that the true Brainiac has actually been going planet by planet, bottling cities by shrinking them down and collecting them to learn as much as he can about the universe while firing solar aggressive missiles at their suns. That is kind of Brainiac's whole thing, but part of his collection in this series is the Kryptonian capital city of Kandor, and Brainiac successfully does this to Metropolis. That might be what Brainiac is trying to do in this movie. Superman could be in a similar kind of containment here, shrunken down in one of Brainiac's cells, and maybe even Lex Luthor helped Brainiac do this to Metropolis. While Superman shouldn't have trouble punching out of normal glass or even being contained in any glass to begin with, I just think this kind of odd barrier material from Brainiac's technology would make this make more sense. Now, some sources that I've seen online have said that these shots in particular seem to have been shot by this movie's director of photography, Harry Bram, with a Leica Tri-Elmar lens, which is a wide-angle photographic lens that uses 3 switchable focal lengths of 16mm, 18mm, and 21mm, all in one, which, in this case, allows Superman's boot, his knee, and his fist, and his face, and the glass as it breaks, and just the container all around him to all be in focus together. And in Lex's shot, his face, and his revolver chamber, and his pinky ring to all kind of be in focus. And it looks really good. And maybe it's just the way the Brainiac sequences would be shot in this film, since we might be within some kind of micro pocket energy field, but it's kind of like an experimental way to shoot a shot. And this is like the first time we've seen it this way in like a major budget film. And I'm excited to see more of these types of shots. Okay, this section shows us this sweet boy raising a flag with Superman's emblem on yellow with the opposite direction of the fleeing people. It kind of looks like the Marines raising the flag over Iwo Jima, but in this case, he's praying for Superman to help him. And we hear him and everyone chanting Superman throughout the rest of this trailer if you listen closely, either in praise or in hope, or in some cases in anger. Actually, later in this trailer, we see this boy on the news, and it seems like this is either Baravia or a country bordering Baravia. Baravia is a fictional country in the DC universe, a part of an Eastern European monarchy in the Alps, but here I'm wondering if Baravia might be relocated somewhere else on the globe. Maybe the Middle East, maybe Southwest Asia, just based on the general terrain and some of the women wearing headscarves. Back in Metropolis, Superman, now with the suit all scorched up, walks through these angry protesters, one of whom throws a heavy can from his grocery bag at his head, and it bounces off. Now, Superman does flinch or just blink a little bit, but I think he's just surprised to feel anything hitting his head, and I think he's really flinching out of worry that it will hit someone else now. Either way, Superman does not respond, and he enters the building. So my theory in our live stream Q&A was that Baravia could be in a worldly conflict that is just too complicated, too rooted in multiple generations of bitter history with religious and ethnic strife for Superman to be able to solve just with his powers alone. And since Superman wouldn't be able to quick fix whatever humanitarian crisis is happening in places like this part of the world, sympathetic protesters back home might still hold him responsible for not doing enough. Like shows like The Boys on Amazon Prime video have explored the whole idea of what if a Superman-like figure was deployed to hotspots in the Middle East, and the 2008 Iron Man addressed that kind of what if hypothetical as well. But I think James Gunn is now trying to reclaim the conversation for a figure like Superman, who actually has to restrain himself and recognize that some problems on Earth are just too big for him to solve. Now, whereas Homelander murdered a protester who threw a heavy can at his son Ryan, Superman just kind of has to take a hit. And again, after it bounces off his head, that heavy can could hit some nearby kid. I'm reminded of the George Reeves Superman incident that was depicted in that incredible scene in the Ben Affleck movie Hollywoodland, where a kid brought a real gun to a live performance hoping to test it on Superman, thinking that he's invincible. And George Reeves had to defuse this terrifying scenario while maintaining his facade as Superman by warning the kid what could happen if that bullet deflected off of him and might hit someone else. Now, Superman goes into this lobby of Stag Industries. Stag Enterprises, or Stag Industries, is a multi-billion-dollar scientific research company, actually kind of a rival to Wayne Enterprises in the DC universe, headed by Simon Stagg. Now, Simon Stagg is the one who created Metamorpho, who we will see a little bit later. Following Superman into this lobby are three other Metamorphs in this movie. Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, played by Nathan Fillion, with Guy's iconic comic blonde bowl cut. Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie Gathegi, who played the cruelly short-lived mutant Darwin in X-Men First Class, and Hawkgirl, played by Isabella Merced, who earlier this year played Anya Corazon in Madam Web. Now, Guy Gardner's jacket has the Green Lantern symbol on a patch, and he uses his ring to project a mask on the windows to block the protesters from seeing, which just kind of makes him look real douchey. James Gunn wanted to include all these other Metamorph characters in Superman's world, not to prematurely set up the DC Studios universe with spin-off characters. I really don't think he plans to follow any of these lower-level characters with their own films, although Guy Gardner Green Lantern might show up in the Lantern series as just part of the Green Lantern Corps. Really, I think he brought in these characters to serve as foils to what Superman is in this movie, to show how Superman is not unique in Metropolis as a superpowered extraterrestrial figure, but really what makes him unique is why he puts on the suit, how he restrains his powers. In a world of superheroes, what makes Superman super? Hawkgirl soars in with her mace, then Superman faces the fiery breath of a kaiju form of that axolotl, whose eyes are lower than its nostrils. Now, some of the High Evolutionaries' genetic experiments in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 seem to have similarly freaky anatomies, and I think James Gunn just likes telling his VFX artists, oh, looks good, but can we like lower its IQ by 50 points? Now, another Superman comic that James Gunn is pulling from is Superman Birthright from 2003, written by Mark Waid, which retells Superman's origin story and features Lex Luthor learning bits and pieces of Kryptonian history and then distributes this information out of context to the news media to try to turn the public against Superman, accusing Superman of being like the first step of a Kryptonian takeover of Earth. And then Lex goes as far as staging attacks with giant alien kaiju on Metropolis to blame that on this Kryptonian threat. I actually wonder if that could be what Lex is doing in this movie with this kaiju. So here, Superman sits with Lois Lane as a battle rages outside. This is actually the same apartment where the first look photo of Superman putting on his boots was set, and now I'm wondering, why are you putting your boots back on in that image, Kal-El? What were you and Lois doing? Also, is Lois okay? Behind Superman, you can see the twin skyscrapers that would be Luthor Corp towers. Now, we only have guesses as to what this whole green and pink battle is. Right now, we are leaning toward a battle between Brainiac and maybe Cersei, the Themysciran sorceress whom we've been seeing in Creature Command, whose magic often has a fuchsia color to it. Maybe she's trying to create a sphere around Brainiac. And yes, even though Creature Commandos is animated, it's just an animated depiction of the same interconnected DC universe as the Superman film. So Frank Grillo voices Rick Flag Sr. in that show, and Grillo will be playing a live-action Rick Flag Sr. in this Superman movie. Lois kisses Kal-El when he's in his Clark form, but he's not wearing glasses, making me wonder, does Lois know that Clark is Superman in this movie? Will she learn at some point in this movie? Or is she just getting romantic with Clark, not knowing about his Superman identity, and the lack of glasses isn't yet tipping her off? Or is this shot like a fantasy dream sequence for Kal-El? Notice that Lois's clothes in this kissing shot are what she was wearing in the Daily Planet newsroom earlier. So I think this might just be a fantasy that Clark is envisioning, what he wishes he could have with Lois, but in his Clark form. Next, a shot in the Fortress of Solitude. This broken robot that Superman holds is Kelex, who is a servant robot to Jor-El back on Krypton and resides in the Fortress of Solitude as one physical memory link Kal-El has to his family family and his original home. So Superman losing Kelex here is particularly heartbreaking. Who did this to Kelex? Are they still in the house? Actually, is that home invasion that hurts Kelex part of what connected to Superman getting punched out into the nearby snow? Actually, there is a theatrical version of this trailer that's playing in cinemas right now, showing some additional shots, including this one of Lex entering what I think is the Fortress of Solitude, and that is Ultraman to his right. We'll talk about Ultraman in a second. And that's also the engineer to the left of Lex. But I think Lex might have found the Fortress of Solitude, and it was Ultraman who wrecked this place. We see the crystal spires of the Fortress of Solitude rising out of the ice in this trailer, and that might be part of Lex Luthor finding this location. Then we get this quick close-up of Anthony Kerrigan as Rex Mason, aka Metamorpho. You might know Kerrigan as NoHo Hank from HBO's Barry. Metamorpho is made of a shifting mass of chemicals divided into quadrants on his body that can shift into different compounds. And as I said before, he is connected to Stag Industries. His left shoulder looks gray and rocky here. His right shoulder looks purple and floral, or maybe fungal. Another shot of the downtown Cleveland area that was used for this part of Metropolis as three buildings domino into each other. And then there's this close-up of Lex with his head, his cheek, his chin, all bloody and scarred, his eyes filled with tears. And I think this shot is important to James Gunn because early in the development process, he posted the storyboard version of this shot exactly that he drew to demonstrate to his department heads exactly how tight he wanted the angle to be on Lex for some key moment in the movie. Next, we see the aforementioned GBS news broadcast of the kid with the flag and the Chiron, Baravian troops amassing at border. So we don't know if this kid came from Baravia or if he's in a nearby country that Baravia is invading. And you'll notice that this TV is a Luthor Corp brand TV, showing how Lex's company is involved in consumer products in addition to having their fingers in every pie. We see Superman pushing the kaiju off away from a building, another part of this fight with this thing, and a demonstration of how strong he is. And then this adorable shot of Krypto pulling Superman through the snow by his cape as Superman's face is just plowing through the snow. And if you look closely, you can see Krypto's tail wagging in this shot. Oh my God. Okay, the final section opens with this dark armored figure punching through a wall. This is Ultraman. Ultraman is a Superman counterpart known for a U sigil on his chest. As an opposite to Superman, he is powered by kryptonite. Ultraman tackles Superman into the grass of the Metropolis Meteors baseball field. Actually, on the upper levels are names of various players or just like Hall of Famers from the team. One of them is Petrota, which I think could be for Drew Petrota, who according to IMDb is an art department prop master who isn't yet credited for Superman. But hey, look at that. Worked on James Gunn's The Suicide Squad in 2021, so I'm betting he worked on this movie as well. There are a bunch of other names on signs, but I couldn't make them out. But along the field fence line, there is a banner for Metropolis Waste Management. We get this trailer's best shot of Mr. Terrific in close-up. Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, is known for just being kind of a brilliant jack of all trades, an engineer, a man with natural aptitudes for having natural aptitudes. And visually iconic for the T on his face, a jacket that reads fair play on the sleeve. I appreciate though here how the T is not like just painted on his face, but kind of raised off his face a little bit, like maybe part of a mask that just perfectly clings to the shape of his nose and mouth. But there might be more to it based on that. Like it could be a mask that extends or provides some specific protection or something that kind of has some neural link with his skin. In addition to having a very cool ship, he's followed by these T-sphere drones, which protect himself and that looks like Lois Lane with the shield as they're fired upon by these soldiers in green and purple armor. These, I'm pretty sure, are Lex bots. It's not clear if they are robots or guys in suits. Lex bots have taken both forms in various media, and there was a time when Lex wore green and purple armor when he was armored up to fight Superman. We just know that this whole site is Luthor Corp related because you can see LC on the barrels by the tents for Luthor Corp. And then this stunning shot of Superman twirling and floating upward with Lois as they kiss. And then finally, Superman pushes through the fire from the kaiju and blasts upward toward the sun. I just love that little detail of him puffing through the lower smoke or cloud layer and then suddenly accelerating into the sunlight now that he has more direct exposure from it as we lose sight of him. He's flying up there to just to reach charge to heal. And I think there's an implicit invitation to us to look up with this shot. The trailer ends with Lois and Superman looking out the window at the battle, similar to the final shot of Fight Club, and Lois grabbing his wrist and then pulling him in, not for a kiss, but just a supportive hug. The trailer ends not by cutting the title, but to the release date, July July 11th, and then the studio logo for DC Studios. So we do not get the Superman title at the end of this trailer. And I think there's something classy about that because we don't need to be told who this is. He's one of the most iconic figures in all of media. But what's cool is you don't even notice it because really his name has been on our breath this whole trailer. Now, one person who does not appear in this trailer is Millie Alcock, who has been cast as Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, Superman's cousin. The Supergirl movie is coming in 2026 and will start shooting in just a few weeks in January. James Gunn nearly confirmed that she will appear in this movie at a press event, saying that he showed this trailer to some actress who has not been explicitly announced for this movie, and that actress cried. And we're all pretty sure that mystery actress is Millie Alcock. I don't think her role will be huge in this movie, and James Gunn has said that there will be sort of a post-credit scene to this movie, but not one that is load-bearing to the future of the universe. I think she will just appear in some scene during the movie's runtime. All right, that's everything I found in this amazing trailer for Superman. I'm so excited for this film. We reacted to this trailer in another video and just kind of gave us our first emotional impressions of what we think this film can be capable of accomplishing next year. Comment down below with your favorite part of this trailer and comment with like your first impressions of Superman when you were a kid. Like, what were your earliest memories of Superman? Another reminder that you can join our channel membership, a really great way to support us here at New Rockstars. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels of the New Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.